The battlefield was silent now, except for the wind that carried the smell of smoke and metal. Craters and debris marked the place where armies had once clashed. In the center of the ruin lay the alien queen. Her armor was scorched, her once majestic form broken, and she could not rise. She had always been strong, a warrior feared across galaxies, but now her body refused her command. Humans had arrived shortly after the battle ended. Their ships hovered above the wreckage, scanning for survivors. They had been considered weak, fragile creatures by many in the universe, yet here they were, cautious but determined. Among them, Commander Jason led a small team on the ground. He was calm, observant, and unlike the rest of his crew, he saw something more than an enemy lying wounded before him. The alien queen's eyes opened, sharp and proud even in pain. She looked at the humans with a mixture of disdain and disbelief. "I was born a warrior," she said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her limbs. "I do not need your help." Jason crouched a few feet away, his hands raised in peace. He could see every scar, every mark of battle, yet he did not see a threat. He only saw a being who had given everything in a fight and now faced the consequences alone. "You fought bravely," he said softly. "But right now, survival matters more than pride." The queen struggled to stand, but her legs buckled under her weight. Pain shot through her like fire, and her hands scraped the ground. "I will not be helped by humans," she whispered. "I do not belong in weakness." Jason shook his head gently. "Strength comes in many forms. Right now, you are alive. That is your first victory." He signaled to the medic who had arrived with him. The medic, a woman named Lara, approached with careful steps, carrying a small medical kit. Her hands were steady and gentle. She knelt beside the queen, speaking quietly. "We can help you, if you let us. You do not have to fight alone." The alien queen turned her face, hiding her expression. Pride was not easy to let go of, but her body had already made the choice for her. She had fought countless enemies, faced betrayal, and led armies to victory, yet she had never felt so powerless. Her chest heaved as she whispered, almost to herself, "Now I can't even walk." Jason noticed the change in her tone, the crack in the armor of her pride. He did not step closer. Humans had learned to respect boundaries, even with beings that were far stronger. "Being a warrior does not mean never needing help," he said. "It means knowing when to accept it. You can rise again, but only if you allow yourself to heal first." Lara worked silently, cleaning burns and binding wounds. The queen's alien physiology was complex, but she was alive, and that was what mattered. Slowly, she allowed herself to relax, just enough to breathe. Her eyes, still sharp and alert, softened for the first time in hours. Outside the battlefield, other humans kept watch. They understood that the queen was dangerous if fully restored, but they also recognized her pain and vulnerability. For the first time, humans and alien were sharing the same space, not as enemies, but in the quiet hope of survival. The queen's mind wandered. She had ruled planets, commanded fleets, and fought wars that shaped civilizations. And yet, here she was, relying on beings she had once considered inferior. There was a strange sense of humility in the moment, one she had never experienced before. She watched the humans move with care, their teamwork and determination reminding her of her own soldiers, but different. They did not have her power, yet they had endurance, courage, and patience. Hours passed. The sun of a distant planet began to rise, casting light over the scarred battlefield. The alien queen remained on the ground, not out of surrender, but out of necessity. The humans were no longer just rescuers, they were allies, guides in a new kind of battle she had never faced. A battle not against enemies, but against her own weakness. She finally whispered again, quieter this time, perhaps, strength is more than fighting. Jason heard her words and nodded, understanding that the first step toward recovery was always the hardest. The alien queen had survived centuries of war, yet this moment, this fragile beginning, was just as important. For the first time, she looked at humans with something close to respect. They had chosen to save her when they could have walked away. And in that choice, she saw a spark of hope, a spark that could ignite a warrior's spirit in an entirely new way. The alien queen sat in a makeshift shelter built from the wreckage of her once mighty fleet. She still could not stand on her own, and every movement reminded her of how fragile she had become. Humans moved around her carefully, bringing food and water, tending to her wounds. Their touch was gentle, precise, unlike the rough care of soldiers she had once commanded. Despite her injuries, she maintained her proud gaze. "I do not need this," she said, her voice firm, though it lacked the certainty it once carried. "I am a warrior. I survive battles. I do not survive with the help of others." Commander Jason leaned against a metal beam, observing her. He had learned that force could not convince her to accept help. Respect was required. "You survived countless battles," he said calmly. "This is just another battle. This one is against your own body, not an enemy. You can fight it, but you cannot fight it alone." The queen's amber eyes narrowed. "You speak as if I am weak. I have led armies. I have destroyed worlds. Why should I accept weakness now?" Lara, the human medic, stepped forward. "Because sometimes the strongest warriors are the ones who know when to rely on others. Even you had soldiers who protected you. You led them, but they helped you. This is no different." The queen did not respond immediately. She turned her gaze toward the horizon, remembering the countless battles she had won. Pride had always defined her. It was what made her a queen. But now, that same pride threatened to keep her from surviving. She could feel her body aching, her limbs refusing to obey. She realized that no amount of pride could heal broken bones or torn muscles. Hours passed in silence. The humans worked efficiently, building support frames and assisting her into a simple device that allowed her to sit upright. The queen flexed her fingers, testing strength she had not felt in days. Her eyes met Jason's. "I am not used to being this helpless," she admitted softly. "It is frustrating." Jason nodded. "Frustration is part of recovery. You will need patience. It is a new kind of strength, but strength nonetheless." The alien queen studied him carefully. She had always relied on her instincts, her sword, her strategy. The idea that patience and guidance could be a form of power was unfamiliar. Yet, seeing the humans move with dedication, she felt a strange sense of respect. They were not fast or strong in the way she had been, but they did not give up. Their persistence was remarkable. A sudden alarm echoed from outside the shelter. Scouts from her own empire had discovered her location. They had heard rumors that the queen survived, and many saw her as unworthy of the throne. Some wished to finish her off before she could recover. Jason quickly assessed the situation. "We need to move her. She is vulnerable here." He gestured for the humans to assist. Together, they lifted the queen into a transport device, careful not to cause her pain. The queen's eyes flicked over them. "You fight for me as if I am your own leader," she said quietly. "Why?" Jason looked at her directly. Because every life matters. Because strength is not measured by victories alone, but by the choices you make. We will protect those who need it, and right now, that is you. The queen remained silent, but she did not resist. She realized that the human's care was not pity. It was respect. It was recognition of her spirit, even when her body failed her. For the first time, she felt the possibility of trust. As the transport lifted off, she glanced down at the scarred battlefield. Her empire, once vast, was now a distant memory. Yet here she was, alive, and supported by beings she had once thought insignificant. It was a humbling thought, but it did not diminish her pride. If anything, it gave her a new perspective. Strength could exist in forms she had never considered. The journey to the human safe base was tense. Scouts from her enemies followed, and the queen felt the urge to fight, to take control, to command the situation as she always had. Jason gently placed a hand on the transport's controls. "Not yet," he said. "You will fight again, but first you must recover. Strategy wins battles, not pride alone." The queen looked out at the stars passing beneath them. She felt a quiet determination growing within her. She could not yet walk. She could not yet fight. But she would rise. She would reclaim her power in a new way. And perhaps, she thought, strength was not just in victory, but in the courage to survive and accept help when it was needed most. Lydie was difficult to accept. She had spent her life moving swiftly across battlefields, commanding legions, and striking fear into her enemies. Now, every small movement required effort, and she often found herself relying on humans to help her. Pride battled with necessity inside her, a constant struggle that she had never experienced before. The humans treated her with patience and respect. Commander Jason had arranged for her to stay in a secure facility, one that could withstand attacks and provide her with the medical care she needed. Engineers and medics worked around the clock, building devices to help her regain strength and mobility. Every day was a lesson in endurance, and the queen learned quickly that this type of battle was different but no less challenging. One morning, the queen struggled to stand with the support of a human-built exoskeleton. Her body trembled, her legs weak, and her arms shook as she held onto the device. "This is humiliating," she admitted, her voice low but firm. "I am a queen. I am a warrior. I should not need such tools." Jason watched her carefully. "You are still a warrior," he said. "A warrior does not only wield a sword. A warrior faces what seems impossible and keeps moving forward. Right now, moving forward is what matters." The queen looked at him, trying to measure the truth in his words. Her people had always seen weakness as failure, yet these humans, whom she had once considered insignificant, had shown her respect and patience. She realized that courage did not always mean fighting with strength. Sometimes, it meant accepting help and learning to rise again. Outside the facility, scouts reported movement. The queen's rivals had not forgotten her. They saw her current state as proof of her unworthiness, and some were gathering forces to strike before she could reclaim her power. Her mind sharpened instantly, calculating strategies as she had done countless times before. She could not yet lead in combat, but she could guide from her knowledge and insight. Jason approached her with a plan. "We need to be ready. Your enemies will attack soon. You may not be able to fight directly, but your guidance can turn the tide." The queen's eyes glimmered with determination. For the first time since her defeat, she felt the thrill of command returning, though in a new and unfamiliar form. Humans and aliens began to train together. The Queen instructed, pointed, and guided, her voice still carrying authority. She taught the humans strategies and formations she had used in the past. In return, they showed her methods of defense and technology she had never seen. Slowly, she began to see that humans were not weak at all. Their perseverance, teamwork, and innovation were remarkable. Hours turned into days. The Queen's body grew stronger, and her mind sharper. Though she still relied on support to move, she could stand for longer periods. Every small success fueled her spirit, and she began to understand that recovery was a kind of battle, one that required patience, courage, and trust. Then came the first warning of an attack. Scouts reported that a small force of her rivals was approaching. The Queen felt a surge of old instincts. She would have charged into battle without hesitation before, but now she needed a new strategy. She studied the reports, analyzing enemy positions, and formulated a plan with Jason. Her voice was firm, commanding respect, even though her body was still weak. The humans listened, impressed by her clarity and precision. She realized that leadership did not always depend on physical power. Even in weakness, her knowledge and experience could shape events. The idea was unfamiliar, but it sparked hope within her. As the enemy force drew closer, the Queen felt her heart beat with anticipation. She could not yet strike, but she could guide. She could prepare. She could ensure that humans and allies would be ready for whatever came next. She realized that victory might take a different form now, but it was still within her reach. That evening, she looked out at the horizon, the sun casting long shadows across the land. Her body was weak, her legs unsteady, yet her mind was alive with strategy and determination. For the first time, she understood that a warrior's spirit could survive even when the body faltered. The humans had taught her that strength came in many forms, and she was ready to embrace this new kind of battle. Her rivals were coming, and the Queen was ready. Not just to survive, but to lead, even from a place of vulnerability. She was learning a lesson she had never known: sometimes, true power is measured not by what one can destroy, but by what one can endure and inspire. The alien Queen woke before dawn, as she had done for centuries, though now her movements were slower and more deliberate. Her body still ached, and every step required focus, but she was determined to regain her strength. Humans had created a training area for her, filled with devices and supports designed to help her move without causing harm. At first, she had resisted, insisting she could train like a warrior of old. Now, she had begun to see that patience was also a form of courage. Commander Jason arrived with Lara and a small team of engineers. "Today we will try something new," he said calmly. "It will be hard, but I believe you can do it." The Queen rose, using the support device to stabilize herself. Her pride bristled, yet she did not speak. Every day of recovery was a reminder that she had once taken her strength for granted. The training began slowly. She practiced balance, lifting her legs carefully, leaning on the device. Each movement caused sharp reminders of her injuries, yet she pushed herself further. Lara guided her with gentle encouragement, correcting posture, supporting joints, and offering words of patience. At first, the Queen's frustration was visible. She had always commanded armies effortlessly, yet now every simple step required effort and concentration. "You are trying too hard," Lara said quietly. "Strength is built gradually, not by forcing the body." The Queen's amber eyes softened. She had been taught that endurance was everything, yet she had never considered endurance in recovery. She let herself trust the human's guidance, though it was difficult. Trust had always been a foreign concept to her, and now it became a new weapon she could wield in her own way. As the day continued, she began to understand the value of teamwork in a different sense. Humans worked together to adjust her supports, monitor her vitals, and encourage her progress. It was unlike the battlefield, yet every small success reminded her of the victories she had once achieved with her soldiers. She realized that leadership was not only about commanding in battle but also about inspiring and protecting those who supported her. By afternoon, she had learned to take a few steps with minimal assistance. Each movement was slow and calculated, but it was progress. Her pride flared and softened at the same time. She was no longer the invincible warrior she had been, but she was still a leader, still strong in ways she had not recognized before. Jason approached her, watching her take careful steps. "You see," he said, "strength is not only in attacking or defending. It is in endurance, patience, and learning from every challenge." The queen looked at him, a mixture of determination and respect in her eyes. "I fought for centuries," she said softly. "I thought strength was only in power. Perhaps I was wrong." Even as she spoke, scouts reported movement beyond the base. Her enemies were testing the humans, probing for weaknesses. The queen felt a surge of instinct. She may have been slowed, but her mind was sharp. She analyzed the reports, giving instructions on defense placement, predicting enemy maneuvers. Her voice, once commanding thousands in battle, now guided humans who had never fought alongside alien armies. And they listened. That evening, she rested but could not remain idle. She reflected on the day's progress, realizing that every small step forward was a victory. She had taken a lesson from humans: courage and determination could overcome limitations. Pain and weakness were not failures, they were challenges to endure and conquer. Lara brought her a meal, and the queen accepted it silently, a rare acknowledgement of her dependence on others. Yet it did not diminish her spirit. She began to see that recovery required more than physical strength, it required humility, trust, and a willingness to accept help. These were lessons she had never considered in her life as a warrior. As night fell, the queen gazed at the stars. The universe had always been a battlefield to her, yet now she understood that survival and leadership were battles in themselves. Humans had taught her patience, and slowly she embraced the idea that a warrior could fight even without a sword. She whispered to herself, "I may be slow, I may be weak, but I am not defeated. Strength is more than power. It is endurance, courage, and will." She closed her eyes, resting, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new steps, and a stronger version of herself. The alien queen had learned that leadership could survive even when the body faltered, and that humans, though different, had something extraordinary to teach her. She was beginning to see that her greatest victories might yet lie ahead. The alien queen woke to the sound of alarms echoing through the human base. Scouts had reported the approach of enemy forces, and this time the threat was more serious. Her rivals had gathered a larger fleet, intent on proving that she was unfit to lead. She felt a familiar spark of determination. Though her body still required support and care, her mind was sharp, and her experience in battle was unmatched. Commander Jason and the human team were already preparing defenses. The queen was brought to the strategy room, seated with support, and immediately began analyzing the reports. "Their fleet is organized but predictable," she said, her voice steady. "They rely on speed and intimidation. If we anticipate their moves, we can turn their strength against them." The humans listened carefully, taking notes, asking questions, and following her guidance. She gave precise instructions on positioning, using terrain and technology to their advantage. The Queen realized that leadership was not about physical strength alone. Even in her weakened state, she could still inspire and direct others to act with purpose and precision. When the enemy fleet arrived, the Queen was in a command position, supported by humans who trusted her judgment. She could not fight directly, but her knowledge guided the entire defense. Her voice, calm and authoritative, directed humans to take positions, manage energy shields, and prepare countermeasures. The humans executed every order with skill and dedication, proving that her lessons and strategies could still save lives. During the first skirmish, smaller enemy ships attempted to breach the perimeter. The Queen watched their movements and called out adjustments in real time. Divert power to the left shield. Use the drones to intercept the fast units. Predict their trajectory, and do not let them flank us. Her instructions were clear and accurate, and the humans followed without hesitation. The enemy ships were stopped, and the Queen felt a surge of pride. Though her body was not as strong as before, her mind and spirit were more alive than ever. Hours passed. The enemy forces grew frustrated, trying to outmaneuver the base, but the Queen anticipated every move. She had once fought on starships and alien worlds, and her understanding of battle strategy had not diminished. Even as she remained supported by her devices, she could see the tide of the conflict turning. Humans and alien allies worked together under her guidance, blending technology and tactics in ways her enemies had not expected. Finally, the enemy commander attempted a bold attack, sending a fast strike team toward the command center. The Queen analyzed the approach and gave precise instructions. Redirect energy shields. Activate automated defenses. Trap them in the canyon corridor. Humans followed her plan perfectly. The enemy ships were forced into a confined area, neutralized with minimal risk to the base. Victory was within reach, not because of overwhelming power, but because of strategy and leadership. When the battle ended, the Queen allowed herself to stand with the support of her exoskeleton. It was not perfect, and her legs shook, but she took a few steps across the command room. The humans around her cheered quietly, not out of mockery, but in respect for her determination. She felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had led without fighting physically, but her decisions had saved lives and turned the outcome of the conflict. Commander Jason approached her. "You see," he said, "strength is not always measured by the sword you wield. It is measured by the lives you protect and the minds you inspire." The Queen nodded, her ember eyes glowing with a quiet intensity. "I understand now," she said. "A warrior can fight in many ways. Even when the body is weak, the mind and spirit can still prevail." Later, as the base settled and repairs were made, the Queen reflected on the day's events. She had faced her first real challenge since her injuries, and she had succeeded. Her body was still fragile, but her spirit had grown stronger. She realized that true strength was a combination of courage, endurance, and the ability to trust and guide others. Humans, she thought, were remarkable allies. Their persistence, patience, and teamwork had shown her a new kind of power. That night, she looked out at the stars. The universe was vast, full of conflict and uncertainty, but she no longer felt defeated. She had learned that leadership and strength could exist in many forms, and she was determined to embrace this new path. The alien Queen whispered quietly to herself, a promise more than a thought: "I may be slow. I may need support. But I will rise. I will lead. And I will prove that a warrior's spirit can never be broken." The morning air was sharp and tense as the alien queen prepared for what would be the most challenging test of her recovery. Scouts had reported a massive enemy fleet advancing rapidly, determined to crush her and the humans who had aided her. This time, there would be no small skirmish, it was a full assault, and the queen knew that every decision she made could determine the survival of everyone in the base. She rose from her bed with the support of her exoskeleton, her legs trembling but steady. Each movement reminded her of how far she had come, yet also how fragile she still was. Commander Jason entered quietly, giving her a nod of encouragement. "They are strong," he said. "But so are you. Today is your chance to prove that strength is more than muscle. It is mind, courage, and leadership." The queen's amber eyes met his, sharp and focused. "Then I will not fail," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her body. She studied the reports on the approaching fleet, her mind racing through strategies and contingencies. Her body could not lead a charge, but her mind could direct a defense that would outsmart even the most aggressive enemy. Humans and alien allies prepared under her guidance. She instructed them on how to position energy shields, deploy automated defenses, and coordinate movements to maximize their advantage. Her voice carried authority, commanding respect not through fear but through knowledge and precision. The humans followed her every instruction, adapting quickly and executing her strategies flawlessly. The enemy fleet appeared on the horizon, a vast and intimidating armada. The queen's heart beat faster, but she steadied herself. This was her chance to show that a warrior's spirit was not limited to the body. She observed every movement, anticipating attacks, and providing directions with confidence. "Flank on the left," she ordered. "Use drones to intercept the first wave. Prepare the energy nets. Do not allow them to penetrate the inner defenses." As the first wave of enemy ships advanced, humans executed her instructions perfectly. Shields were shifted, traps activated, and countermeasures deployed with precision. The alien queen could see the confusion spreading among the attackers. Her knowledge, experience, and strategic mind were turning the battle in their favor even as her body remained supported. Hours passed in relentless tension. Each decision she made influenced the outcome, and each success strengthened her confidence. For the first time since her defeat, she felt the rush of command without the need to fight physically. She realized that her body's weakness did not diminish her power, her mind and spirit were more capable than she had imagined. A critical moment arrived when the enemy attempted a direct assault on the base's central command. The queen quickly calculated a new strategy. Redirect all available shields to the core perimeter. Use drones to create a funnel. Trap them in the canyon corridor, she commanded. Her words were precise, almost surgical, and the humans executed them with perfect timing. The enemy was caught in the trap, unable to maneuver, and their attack failed. The queen allowed herself a brief moment of triumph. Her body still relied on support, but her mind had led them to victory. She realized that leadership was not measured by physical prowess alone, it was measured by courage, wisdom, and the ability to inspire others to act with purpose. Humans, she thought, had shown her that even beings who seemed weak could achieve great strength through unity and perseverance. As the last enemy ships retreated, the queen took a few steps without relying entirely on her exoskeleton. Her legs shook, but she stood taller than she had in months. Commander Jason approached, smiling. "You see what I mean," he said. "Strength is more than fighting. It is endurance, courage, and the will to lead." The queen looked out at the horizon, where the enemy fleet vanished among the stars. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not just for the victory, but for the journey that had brought her here. Pain, weakness, and patience had been her teachers, and she had learned their lessons well. That evening, as she rested, the queen reflected on the day. She had faced her greatest challenge, guided humans through battle, and emerged victorious despite her injuries. She understood that a warrior's spirit was never broken, even when the body faltered. She whispered quietly to herself, a promise and a declaration: I have fallen, I have struggled, but I will rise stronger. My body may still be weak, but my spirit will always lead. The alien queen had finally learned that true strength was not only in combat but in endurance, wisdom, and the courage to rely on others. She was ready for whatever challenges the universe would place before her next. The alien queen stood in the quiet of the early morning, supported by her exoskeleton, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The battles had passed, the enemy defeated, and the humans who had once seemed fragile had proven themselves loyal and capable. Her body still bore the marks of injury, but her spirit was stronger than ever. She had faced her greatest challenge and emerged wiser, stronger, and more determined. Commander Jason approached, holding a small support device designed to help her regain her full mobility. Today, he said calmly, we take the next step. You have led through strategy, endured through patience, and inspired through courage. Now it is time for your body to follow your spirit. The queen nodded, her ember eyes steady. She had spent weeks learning to trust humans, accepting their guidance, and embracing the slow process of recovery. Pride had always defined her, yet now she understood that true strength came in many forms. Physical power was only one part of being a warrior. Patience, wisdom, and perseverance were just as important. With careful movements, she placed her feet on the support device. Every muscle protested, but she focused on balance and breathing. Lara and the engineers watched closely, ready to adjust and assist if necessary. The queen took a small step forward. Her legs trembled, her body shook, but she did not falter. She repeated the movement, step by step, growing more confident with each one. Humans gathered around quietly, offering encouragement and ready to help. You can do it, Jason said. One step at a time. Every step is a victory. The queen took another step, then another. Pain ran through her body, but determination ran stronger. She remembered the battles she had fought, the empires she had led, and the lessons she had learned from humans. Strength was not always about fighting alone, sometimes it was about trusting, enduring, and moving forward even when the path was difficult. Minutes passed, and the queen began to walk more steadily. She was not yet free of her support device, but the progress was undeniable. The humans around her cheered quietly, not out of pity, but in respect for her courage and persistence. Her enemies had underestimated her once, thinking that her injuries meant weakness. Now, she walked with dignity, proving that a warrior's spirit could never be broken. Jason stepped closer. You see, he said gently, true strength is in surviving, in rising after every fall, and in leading others, even when you are at your lowest. You have done all of this, and more. The queen smiled faintly. I have learned much, she said, her voice steady and calm. I was born a warrior, but I see now that strength is not only in battle. It is in endurance, courage, and the ability to rise when everything seems lost. Outside, the sun rose over the horizon, casting light across the base and the recovering battlefield. The alien queen stood taller, her steps more confident, her spirit unshaken. She had regained her mobility, but more importantly, she had discovered a deeper kind of strength, one that combined wisdom, patience, and trust with courage and resilience. She turned to Jason and the humans who had stood by her. You have shown me that even beings I once underestimated can possess great power. Strength is not just physical. It is the heart, the mind, and the will to endure. I will never forget this lesson. Jason smiled. And we will never forget your courage. You have shown us that even the mightiest can rise again with the right support and determination. The Queen stepped forward without relying entirely on the exoskeleton. Each movement was deliberate, steady, and strong. She walked across the open field, the humans following in quiet admiration. She could feel the pride returning, not the pride of a ruler demanding fear, but the pride of one who had survived, grown, and inspired others. As she reached the center of the field, she paused and looked at the sky. The stars stretched endlessly above, reminding her of the vastness of the universe and the challenges yet to come. But she no longer feared them. She had learned that true warriors are not measured only by their victories in battle but by their ability to endure, adapt, and rise stronger than before. The alien queen whispered softly to herself, a vow for the future. I was born a warrior. I fell, I struggled, and I recovered. Now, I will walk again, lead again, and face the universe with a spirit that can never be broken. With that, she took a few more confident steps, each one a testament to her journey. Humans watched in respect, inspired by the queen who had not only survived but grown stronger through humility, trust, and determination. The alien queen had truly reclaimed her strength, and in doing so, she had shown that even the most formidable warriors could find power in endurance, courage, and hope. The universe stretched before her, full of challenges, but she was ready. She was a warrior in every sense: mind, body, and spirit.